joining him on the ice is two-time 50-goal scorer with the Senators in back-to-back seasons in 05-06 and 06-07. At left wing, number 15, le numéro 15, Dany Heatley.
Jitnik never really could control that puck. Now he's got to hustle back. A forward back, it's Colleton. Heatley fires, he scores!
Everywhere he turns with a puck, Chief. It's a 2-on-1. Heatley scores, and he makes it 7-2.
Spezza picks it back up again. Here's Spezza. Tries to go goal off. Heatley scores! Danny Heatley, one away from 50.
Center ice, Heatley up with Spezza. Heatley fires, scores. Dany Heatley with a rocket gets his 50th goal of the season.
A lot of people say that during the course of struggles, you see really good signs of teams coming out of it. Do you see that in your team?
Yeah, I don't really fucking pay attention to signs. The only signs I pay attention to are fucking dollar signs, my fucking check and shit. I'm a fucking all-star, so whatever.
Favorite nickname?
Fucking all-star.
Yeah, 1507. The freaking all-star, baby. Now sure, over the years, he's become the subject of jokes, memes, and internet lore. But all jokes aside, Dany Heatley was that guy, an elite-level talent. And if not for a string of injuries and poor decisions off the ice, I honestly believe we'd be talking about him as a Hall of Famer today. I really do. If you actually go back and look at the first decade of his career, including the playoffs, you'll see the numbers don't lie. These are Hall of Fame stats. Production, consistency, playoff presence, it was all there. In 7 of his first 8 NHL seasons, the guy casually put up 30 goals or more. That alone puts him in elite company. And I'm sure many of you remember his legendary run in Ottawa, where Heatley put up back-to-back seasons with 50 goals and 100 points. Now, it wouldn't feel right making a Heatley video without giving a shout out to the infamous Ottawa Ghost guy. I can't find his YouTube channel anymore. I don't know if it was deleted, but he was the mastermind behind those hilarious voiceovers that basically turned Heatley into one of the biggest memes in the hockey world.
Most embarrassing moment in hockey?
Yeah, never.
What?
Yeah, I'm a fucking all-star. I've never been embarrassed.
Danny,
you'll be suspended for 2 days. How much will your fine be? Yeah, it's no fucking big deal. I'm a fucking all-star. So, I got fined, I think it's about $80,645.16 fucking cents. So, yeah, I'm a fucking millionaire.
player you hate playing against?
Yeah, I guess myself.
What?
I'm an all-star, you fucking idiot.
Will or skill?
Fucking all-star.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Heatley.
Yeah, Danny fucking Heatley, I'm an all-star. My favorite player growing up was myself.
I swear, back in the day, those videos were everywhere. I even had a coach back in the day who would quote those videos religiously. It was either Heater memes or Brizgalov memes that made this the golden era of hockey internet humor. Honestly, with all those voiceovers, does anyone even remember what Heatley's real voice sounds like anymore? Now, jokes aside for a moment, let's talk seriously. I know a lot of people out there aren't exactly a fan of this guy. And it's not just because of the way he left Ottawa, though that certainly left a bad taste in some fans' mouths. What weighs more heavily is the tragic car accident he was responsible for. An accident that took the life of his former teammate and friend Dan Snyder. It's a heartbreaking chapter, one that casts a long shadow over his legacy. I touched on this briefly in my Crazy World of Hockey Iceberg video, but in this one we're going to go deeper, because it deserves that level of respect and honesty. It's a significant chapter in Heatley's journey, and essential to any conversation about his career. But for now, let's start at the beginning. Enough of the intro. I want to take a closer look at Heatley's career, because say what you will, it was a fascinating one. Back in his junior days, Dany Heatley lit up the Alberta Junior Hockey League with the Calgary Canucks. In just 60 games, he piled up a ridiculous 70 goals and 56 assists, totaling 126 points. From there, he took his talents to the University of Wisconsin, playing 2 dominant seasons from 2000 to 2001. And just to add to the resume, he represented Team Canada in back-to-back World Junior Championships, helping the country secure 2 silver medals. Heatley was a winger with a sniper's touch. His shot was lethal. His offensive instincts razor sharp. Pair that with his size and physical presence, you had the blueprint for one of the most complete forwards in the league at the time. It was that body of work from the AJHL to the NCAA that led to him being selected second overall by the Atlanta Thrashers in the 2000 NHL draft. And looking back, he probably should have gone first overall. Either him or Marian Gaborik. But instead, in classic fashion, Mike Milbury and the New York Islanders went with Rick DiPietro. When Dany Heatley made his NHL debut in 2002 with the Atlanta Thrashers, he exploded onto the scene. He led all first-year players in points with 67, topped them in assists with 41, and finished second in goals, trailing only his electrifying teammate Ilya Kovalchuk. Heatley's remarkable first season earned him the Calder Trophy as the league's Rookie of the Year. And when it came time for that infamous sophomore slump, forget about it. Dany Heatley was just getting started. In his second year, Heatley proved he was no flash in the pan. He was a freaking all-star, racking up 41 goals and solidified his status as one of the league's rising stars. Sure, Atlanta as a team wasn't much to write home about, but there was something brewing there. A young core full of promise, and Heatley was at the center of it. That season, he finished 9th in league scoring with an impressive 89 points in just 77 games. Each year, he continued to elevate his game, showing growth, confidence, and pure scoring talent. By then, at just 22 years old, it's easy to imagine Heatley feeling on top of the world. Young, elite, and seemingly unstoppable. Now, before I go any further, I should give a quick disclaimer. What I'm about to share is heavy. It's tragic. Coming off an incredible sophomore season, life was good for Dany Heatley. The 2004 NHL season was just around the corner, and everything seemed to be going his way. But on the night of September 29, 2003, just weeks before the season was set to begin, everything would change. That night, Heatley and his Atlanta Thrashers teammate Dan Snyder were out together. Following a few drinks, they were involved in a car accident with Heatley at the wheel. The crash would completely total Heatley's car. Both men were ejected from the vehicle, and the aftermath was nothing short of devastating. Heatley survived, but not without serious injuries. He suffered a broken jaw, a minor concussion, a bruised lung, a bruised kidney, and tore 3 ligaments in his right knee. An injury that alone could have threatened his career. But sadly, Dan Snyder wasn't as fortunate. He sustained a critical skull fracture, and after fighting for his life for 6 days, he would pass away on October 5th. Heatley had not only been in a life-altering accident, he had unintentionally taken the life of a close friend and teammate. He was charged with vehicular homicide and ultimately pled guilty to second-degree vehicular homicide. In court, Heatley admitted to driving too fast, failing to maintain his lane, and consuming alcohol before getting behind the wheel. While his blood alcohol content was under the legal limit, his reckless driving that night had irreversible consequences. Just as quickly as his career had begun, it seemed like it could all be over. But in a remarkable act of grace and compassion, Snyder's family forgave Heatley. They believed that putting him behind bars wouldn't bring their son back, nor would it serve any meaningful justice. They saw the tragedy as a terrible accident rather than an act of malice, and they didn't want to lose 2 lives that night. Now, I'm not here to say whether that's right or wrong. Those are deeply personal decisions, and it's not for me to judge. But what I can acknowledge is the humanity in their forgiveness, and the weight of that mercy on Heatley's shoulders. As a result of a plea deal, Heatley avoided jail time. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation. There were conditions. The court had to approve any vehicles he drove, it couldn't have more than 6 cylinders, and it couldn't be capable of exceeding 70 miles per hour. The first-degree charge was reduced to second-degree as a part of the deal. Even after the legal proceedings concluded, Heatley was left not just with the physical aftermath of his injuries, but the emotional burden of guilt. A burden that would undoubtedly follow him for the rest of his life. He would barely see the ice during the 2004 season, suiting up for just 31 games. In that limited time, he still managed to notch 13 goals and finished with 25 points. A respectable output, all things considered. Despite having the unwavering support of the entire Thrashers organization, the Snyder family, and the fan base that stood firmly behind him, Heatley found himself unable to shake the weight of his guilt. Understandably, he could no longer bring himself to play in Atlanta. The city, the locker room, even the ice, It all served as a constant reminder of the bond he once shared with Dan Snyder, and that tragic night that forever altered both of their lives. In the meantime, the entire 2004-5 NHL season was wiped out due to the league-wide lockout. With no games played in North America, Heatley kept himself sharp by spending the year overseas, competing in the Swiss League and the Russian Super League. When the lockout finally came to an end, the Atlanta Thrashers made the decision to honor Heatley's trade request. It was a move that spoke volumes, and a chance for him to step away from the painful reminders of the past and start fresh somewhere else. But not everyone was on board. The trade stirred controversy among Atlanta fans, and especially within the Snyder family. Many felt Heatley owed it to the city and to the people who had stood by him during the most difficult chapter of his life. The support had been unwavering, and for some his departure felt like turning his back on that loyalty. And yeah, if this feels like a somber way to start the video, you're not wrong, it's a tough one. Rest in peace, Dan Snyder. He's someone the hockey community will always remember. On August 23, 2005, a new chapter began in the career of Dany Heatley. A moment that would signal the start of something special. Heatley was headed to the nation's capital, Ottawa, as a part of a blockbuster trade involving Marian Hossa. At the time, this was a bold move for both franchises, one that in hindsight ended up serving each side quite well. Upon his arrival, Heatley was still a restricted free agent, but that matter was settled quickly as he signed a 3-year deal with the Senators, not long after touching down in Ottawa, and just like that, the stage was set. What followed wasn't just a career resurgence, it was the beginning of a legendary run. One that would etch Heatley's name into the hearts of Senators fans and into the fabric of the team's history. It all started with a 22-game point streak, becoming the longest in Senators team history, shattering the previous franchise mark for the longest point streak, which was a 13-game effort once held by Marian Hossa. By the time the streak finally ended, he had come within a single game of tying the all-time NHL record for the longest point streak with a new team, a mark set by none other than Wayne Gretzky during his iconic debut season with the LA Kings. The season started with a point streak and ended with a whole lot of free pizzas. The new trio of Dany Heatley, Daniel Alfredsson, and Jason Spezza earned the nickname the Pizza Line. Thanks to a promotion with Pizza, fans would get free slices whenever the team scored 5 goals in a game. Considering the team would finish first in goals for, the promo became a fan favorite and the nickname stuck. But that wasn't all. Dany reached the 50-goal barrier, finishing the season with 50 goals and an impressive 103 points. Not only did he become the first Senator in franchise history to reach the 50-goal mark, but he also tied with Daniel Alfredsson for the team lead in points, which also set a franchise record for most points in a season. For the first time in his young career, Heatley also tasted the intensity of the playoffs, where he helped propel Ottawa past the defending champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning, in the first round. The Senators ultimately fell short in the second round against the Buffalo Sabres, but 2006 was undoubtedly the year that solidified Heatley's status as one of the best players in the NHL. And in 2007, well, you boys already know. 1507, baby.
So back, a forward back, it's Colleton. Heatley fires, he scores!
Lost possession of the puck, and away goes Heatley again. Heatley in, working again, Campbell scores! Short-handed goal for Danny Heatley.
Olchenko, lead pass, here comes Heatley. Heatley is on the way. It won't matter. Danny Heatley makes it 3-1 Ottawa. Heatley makes his way down to the line. Heatley through traffic, moves in, scores! Danny Heatley ties the game at 2. Here's Heatley driving wide on Stales, gets a shot away, scores!
Head ahead and knocked in over the line. Here's a chance now for Ottawa. The shot, they score!
Alfredsson gloves it down. Out to center ice, Heatley up with Spezza. Heatley fires, scores. Dany Heatley with a rocket gets his 50th goal of the season.
Heatley's journey in the world of hockey reached new heights when he became the first player since Pavel Bure to score back-to-back 50-goal seasons. 50 goals in 07, 105 points in 07, a pivotal part of the Sens team that went on a magical run in 07. Heatley also broke the Ottawa Senators record for points in a single season, surpassing the milestone he had set with Daniel Alfredsson just the year before. And he was just as good in the playoffs. In the first round against a young Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins, Heatley was a force. Over 5 games, he recorded 2 goals and 4 points, helping the Senators cruise through the series with ease. But it was in the second round that Heatley truly elevated his game. Alongside his trusted line mates Alfredsson and Jason Spezza, Heatley dazzled. He finished that series with 3 goals and 7 assists, 10 points in total, leading the Senators in scoring over 5 games. After taking care of Jersey came the Eastern Conference Finals, where Ottawa faced off against the President's Trophy winning Buffalo Sabres. The Senators dominated that series too, winning in 5 games once again, with Heatley being at the forefront of the action, adding another 7 points to his playoff tally. At this point it was clear, if Ottawa could claim the ultimate prize, the Stanley Cup, Heatley might just earn the Conn Smythe Trophy. Yet, as so often happens in sports, fate has its way. In the Stanley Cup Finals, Ottawa's hopes came crashing down. Heatley, despite his best efforts, managed just 1 goal in 5 games. The Anaheim Ducks, led by their defensive juggernaut, proved too much for the Ottawa Senators, as they were bested in 5 games. Still, despite the disappointment, Heatley's postseason performance was nothing short of stellar. In recognition of his contributions, Ottawa rewarded Heatley with a lucrative 6-year contract worth $45 million, a deal that not only secured his financial future, but also ensured his place as one of the league's elite talents. The first year of that contract was a success by all accounts, as Heatley continued to showcase his incredible talent and promise. Despite being sidelined for 11 games due to a separated shoulder, the All-Star still managed to rack up 81 points in 71 games. That year he finished with 41 goals. Sadly, he couldn't become 50 in 08. But as the playoffs rolled around, there would be no magical run this time. Crosby and the Penguins hit puberty and swept the Senators in the first round, leaving Heatley with just a single point to show for his efforts. The following year, Ottawa would give Heatley an A on his jersey, in honor for being the Freakin All-Star. Yet he couldn't replicate his earlier form. Heatley finished with 39 goals in 82 games and a solid 72 points. Not a poor performance by any means, just an off year by Heatley's standards. Ottawa would also miss the playoffs for the first time since Heatley joined the team, giving him plenty of time to chill at his lakeside cottage and boat all off-season. It was during this time, while Heatley was swimming and ripping pucks in his backyard, that he came up with an idea. He believed he could help grow the sport even further in California by following in the footsteps of the Great One. With that vision in mind, he devised a plan to get traded out of Ottawa, fulfilling what many saw as his destiny, to become the greatest player since Wayne Gretzky. However, there was one problem with Heatley's plan. His contract was massive, so it was kind of hard for Ottawa to just trade him like that. Remember, he was being paid $7.6 million per year. Even in today's NHL, that's a lot. This was one of the biggest contracts in the league in 2009. There was an original deal in place to send Heatley to the Oilers, but he turned that down. Edmonton wasn't part of his plan, and there's no way he could boat all year round up there. On September 12, 2009, he was finally traded to the San Jose Sharks, completing his master plan. Yeah, I'd say there's about a 75% chance that actually happened, but let's stick to what we actually know for sure. Heatley wasn't happy with Ottawa. He felt his role in the team was slipping, especially when it came to the power play. Like, they bumped him down to the second unit. The second unit. You don't do that to a guy who scored 50 in 07, man. And on top of that, he wasn't a fan of head coach Corey Clouston's system. He expressed dissatisfaction with his reduced point production and felt his skills weren't being utilized to their full potential. And just like that, after 4 dominant years lighting up the league for Ottawa, Heatley was ready to move on. This pissed a lot of people off. That's actually how the whole 50 in 07 meme era began. Fans started painting Heatley as a me-first kind of player, someone who was more focused on his own stats than the team's success. Ironically though, those memes ended up making him more likable to a whole new wave of fans. Still, his time with the Senators ended on a rough note. Practically overnight, he went from being one of Ottawa's most beloved stars to one of its most hated. It wasn't until just recently, when the team honored the legendary pizza line this past season, that some of that old love started to resurface. And so, the legend of Dany Heatley would continue to unfold in San Jose. In 2010, Heatley was playing on a team that could only be described as a powerhouse. His performance that year was exactly what we had come to expect from Heatley, earning him a well-deserved spot on Team Canada's roster for the 2010 Winter Olympics, despite Dany being criminally undervalued once again.
Yeah, of course I'm happy he won the goal, It's my role got diminished, so I wasn't really into the game tonight, so yeah, I'm not excited, but I kind of ticked off because I wanted to fucking put the gold medal game winner in the net, because I'm a fucking all-star. I should have had the game-winning goal, so, kudos to Crosby, but I'm the fucking all-star, so it sucks, pissed me off. Danny, isn't it kind of a selfish perspective to take after just winning the goal? I mean, yeah, I'm a selfish player, like I said, I'm the fucking all-star, should have been captain too of the goddamn team, so I was going to ask for a trade to Team USA at the end of the period, so I'm pissed off.
Heatley finished the regular season with an impressive 82 points in 82 games, a feat that helped the Sharks finish with the best record in the Western Conference. His contributions didn't stop there. As the team pushed deep into the playoffs, Heatley's presence was a driving force. Though the Sharks ultimately fell to the Chicago Blackhawks in the Western Conference Finals, swept clean out of the postseason, in just 14 playoff games, Heater registered 13 points. By this point in Danny's career, he had quietly been building a case for the Hall of Fame. Over the course of 589 games, Dany Heatley had scored 299 times, and he racked up 625 points. He was a point-per-game player, the kind of offensive force you could count on night in and night out. At the pace he was going, a 500-goal career wasn't just a possibility, it felt like a matter of time. On top of that, he had already claimed the Calder Trophy, earned a gold medal with Team Canada, and of course, scored 50 in 07. And what made his 2010 campaign even more remarkable was the revelation that Heatley had been playing through a torn groin muscle throughout San Jose's entire playoff run. Despite an injury which would sideline most players, he still managed to contribute at an elite level. But in 2011, concerns began to emerge as Dany recorded his lowest point total since the 2004 season, a year in which he had missed nearly the entire campaign due to injury. Despite still managing a respectable 64 points in 80 games, Heatley seemed to be struggling in ways that were hard to explain. But soon after, it was revealed that Heatley had been playing through a series of injuries throughout the season. In the playoffs, he helped the San Jose Sharks make a push to the Western Conference Finals yet again. Unfortunately, they would fall short, losing to the Vancouver Canucks. But Heatley still managed to contribute 9 points in 18 games. With his production dipping and injury concerns mounting, the Sharks realized it was time for a change. During the offseason, they would trade Heatley to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for his former Sens teammate Marty Havlat. While Heatley's time in Minnesota wasn't necessarily bad, his all-star days were far behind him. Heatley's fall from the top was swift. Over the next 3 seasons, his game steadily unraveled, each year marking a quiet step further from the player he once was. By the summer of 2014, Heatley found himself at a crossroads. Now a free agent, his stock had fallen. Just 12 goals in his most recent season, and the offers that once came easily were nowhere to be found. As a result, he would sign a 1-year, $1 million deal with the Anaheim Ducks. Little did anyone know that this would be the final NHL contract he would sign. Unfortunately, Heatley's time in Anaheim was far from fulfilling. He spent much of it as a healthy scratch, and ultimately he was demoted to the AHL, marking the end of his career in the NHL. It's a bittersweet conclusion to a player whose talent once lit up the ice night in and night out, but injuries and age ultimately led to the end of the road. After playing only 6 games for the Ducks, going pointless, Heatley was traded once more on February 28, 2015, this time to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Thomas Fleischmann. However, his time with the Panthers would be fleeting, as he never suited up for them. Instead, he finished the season in the AHL. A far cry from the heights he once reached, but Heatley wasn't ready to walk away just yet. His love for the game was still burning, and so in 2016 he took his talents across the Atlantic to play one final season, playing professionally in Germany for the Nuremberg Ice Tigers. In 46 games he notched 17 goals and 32 points, showing that the spark was still there even if his NHL days were behind him. After the 2016 season, Heatley made it official. He was retiring from pro hockey. Despite all the memes and jokes that followed him through his later years, it's important to recognize that Dany Heatley was once one of the game's most elite talents. If not for a series of poor decisions and injuries, I truly believe Heatley could have found himself in the Hall of Fame. His career numbers, 372 goals, 791 points in 869 NHL games, speak for themselves. Those are undeniably freaking all-star numbers. Heatley's accolades are just as impressive. He was a 4-time All-Star, Calder Trophy winner, and Olympic gold medalist. While his career had its ups and downs, including the fallout from the tragic death of Dan Snyder, there's no denying the immense talent he brought to the ice. You could say that in the end, Dany Heatley's career is a testament to what could have been. A brilliant career that was cut short, but still one that left an undeniable mark on the game. Yeah, you know, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video, boys. Again, big shout out to the Ottawa Ghost guy. He gave us some absolute gems back in the day. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think if Heatley had stayed healthy and made better choices, we'd be talking about a Hall of Famer instead of just the freaking all-star who scored 50 in 07? As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you boys in the next one.